Okay, yeah, should be back now. So, this should be the Meta Knight guide. It's been a while. This guide was kind of requested for me to do, as I had done a Meta Knight guide in the past, but I didn't really like what I did, so I removed it. But I've had people ask on stream to bring it back, so I'm just gonna make a new one. And that's kind of what I planned on doing anyway, but I've just been putting it off and doing other things, but now it's going to be the time, and I've done a bit more research on the character as well. So, I know a bit more about them. This guide is going to be pretty different from my original Meta Knight guide. Inkling is going to be the character that I use to, like, practice with. I usually use Captain Bob for most of the guides, since he's a pretty easy character to combo against, but I've been working with Inkling a bit because, some of the guides that I watched that kind of helped me with Meta Knight were actually, using Inkling to combo, so I'm just gonna use them. And, yeah, so this guide will also not focus on every move, so I'm not gonna go, like, dash attack and then, you know, your jab into up tilt, forward tilt, down tilt. I'm not gonna do all of that. I'm just gonna focus on some of the more important moves for Meta Knight, some of their strengths and weaknesses, and then a bit about his neutral at the end. So, yeah, let me go ahead and turn on trajectory guide, then invincibility display, although it's not really needed, CPU shuffling, and stealth moves. So this will just allow the CPU to kind of DI. Stealth moves will allow the combos to work a bit better and more realistically, and then the trajectory guides kind of just help see the launch angle of each of the moves and why I'm doing things in a specific way. Might make that a bit easier. So yeah, let's get started. So one of our Meta Knight's best moves is going to be dash attack. So dash attack is pretty fast. It doesn't really cover that much range, but it does cover, like, I guess, a decent amount. Like Inkling's dash attack, for example, covers a bit more range than Meta Knight's, but Meta Knight still isn't really that bad. Or at least for the good hit that you actually want, is what I'm referring to. The actual dash attack itself does cover a bit of distance, but you kind of want this hit on the tip of Meta Knight's foot for your dash attack. You pretty much just want to hit it on the last possible frame of the dash attack, and that's going to be the best angle for combos. So let me just show you by actually performing a dash attack. So that was just a regular dash attack, so I just ran up, hit the Inkling. So I can get like an up tilt out of this if I do it like that. Then maybe a few up airs into a jab, but not really that much stuff can come of it. But if I space out the dash attack, as you can see, the launch angle for this dash attack is a bit more horizontal, so Inkling doesn't really travel that far vertically, even on the higher ones, but she will travel a bit more horizontally, whereas if I space it out a bit more, the opposite happens. You don't want to space it out that far, but as you can see, Inkling will get a lot more vertical momentum, I guess, instead of having horizontal. Alright, vertical knockback instead of horizontal knockback, I mean. So, it'll kind of allow you to get glider combos and land up tilts and things like that a bit easier. So, you've got a few things you can do out of a dash attack. So, you can do dash attack to up smash, it's kind of safe. If you do miss it, then your opponent will probably just air dodge or something. So, then they won't really be able to punish you. Not dash attack, but up smash really doesn't have that much ending lag, as you can see here. The main lag actually comes during the move, because you do a few hits before you actually end the animation. So that's kind of where you should be worried about, or like the part of the move that you should be worried about, but even that's not too dangerous if you do have a hitbox above you, slightly to your left and right. But yeah, for the dash attack here, so if I do this hit, I'm probably going to go for more of an up tilt, rather than an up smash. If I get the worst hits, so if the angle is not as great, then I will go for an up smash. But up tilt's actually true, so you don't really have to worry about that much. You can go for that as well, but the up smash will get you a bit more damage, and it's a bit easier to hit if your opponent's launch is a bit lower. Whereas if you get the space dash attack, you'll get a true combo, and then you might be able to ladder off of it a bit easier than if you do it like this. But you can see that kind of just sets up for the back hit sub up air. and that's not really what you want. You want to get the forward hits up air, so that way your opponent will be launched forward kind of like that. You want to space that out a bit more, because that will make it easier on you. But ladder combos don't really work at lower percents as usually they will at a bit higher towards like lower mid percent, so like around 25 to 30% is where ladder combos are really going to start working. So, probably space this a bit better, so let me just try. You kind of have to delay, or not delay, but you have to do it really early, but not early enough to where you miss it like that. So it's kind of hard to get the timing down. It's just something that you have to practice. But as you can see there, I was only able to get about 1 up air out of that, just because it's a bit harder to do at 0. Like if I would have fallen a bit and done like a fast fall, which Meta Knight has a pretty fast falling speed, using fast fall, so I would probably be able to do like an up smash or like up tilt up air, something along those lines to be able to continue juggling opponents. Or, not opponents, but my opponent. But yeah, I did forget to mention this at the beginning. I mentioned it on the last take, but Meta Knight's aerials seem to be one of his best options, and a lot of new players, or not new players, but people that are starting out with Meta Knight might want to go for aerials, but his ground moves are going to be the ones that combo a lot better than the aerial moves. Back air is probably the closest thing to a combo starter. The first it combos into itself, so it does like that, and then if you get the second hit, then as you can see, it will combo into itself. It's kind of hard to get the second hit. But it will actually create like a tech chase scenario where your opponent just pretty much automatically misses the tech because they don't have that larger window to be able to escape it, just because it sends them directly into the ground on that second hit. And you can actually use that ledge, and it has a pretty large amount of knockback, so if I were to use it at ledge, then it will... There we go. So as you can see, it just sends them pretty much straight to the ground. The higher the percent, the faster the they'll go down. So you might be able to catch someone off guard with that. And then if people have weak, or if you're playing against an opponent with a weaker recovery, then it might be able to eliminate them just like that. Yeah, your aerials on stage aren't really going to be as useful as they are off stage, is basically what I had meant by using the aerials. Just on the ground in general is going to be kind of not worthwhile compared to using your ground moves, because these ones are going to be the ones that get you combos. But yeah, now that we've covered dash attack, then you've got down tilt. So down tilt is very fast, and it covers a decent amount of range. I believe it has a bit less range than your forward tilt, but it still covers roughly the same amount. So, as you can see, it hits very low, so that should allow you to show poke a lot of opponents pretty easily, just by down tilting them. And then it will also trip, or at least it has a chance to trip. And it actually is a pretty high chance, but I got it first try there, but... So if you do get a trip, you can get a grab off of that, if you react to it. But as you can see, it's very fast, so if you don't catch it, then you might not be able to get anything. But yeah, I accidentally did forward air there, but I was still able to get an edge guard off of that. I'd meant to continuing to do up airs, I guess. It wasn't really English, but I had meant to do up airs there, and then do a neutral B at the end, but I accidentally inputted a fair at the end of that combo. But yeah, if you do get a trip, then you will be able to get a down throw. Down throw combos into up air pretty easily, so you should be able to get some sort of ladder combo going. Might not be effective at lower percents. I found that down throw works really well at like 25% to start a ladder combo like that, but it should still work. And then if you do get the trip a bit earlier, then you might even want to go for a pummel just in case you throw your opponent off guard, or not throw them off guard, but catch them off guard with the trip. And Meta Knight's pummel is pretty fast as well, so you should be able to get in a few hits. But as you can see here, I wasn't really lucky with the trip until they were at the ledge. Yeah, let me just keep trying. Yeah, there we go. But yeah, if you actually get the down throw at the ledge, then you might not be able to get the up airs. Because what I like to do is I like to run in and start the up airs, so I need a bit of space with a down throw kind of like this, although it's not going to work at this percent because it's a bit too low at 0. But yeah, just down tilt in general is going to be really good for tripping and getting throws, but even if you don't trip, it still does about, 6.3 on the initial hit. So it should still be able to get you some damage, and potentially leading to an edge guard if you actually trip someone at the ledge, but eventually it will start to tumble. It's going to be a bit later in terms of percent because it doesn't really have that strong of knockback or anything, but you can see here it's going to be about like 80% maybe. But whenever it does start tumbling, then you can, or knocking people into tumble. And tumble is basically that effect where they have to either tech it or then they can get into a tech chase scenario, which is what down tilt's really good for. But yeah, it starts that at 120. I wasn't really sure on that. So at about 120, you will start to be able to do stuff like this, and then you can just poke people down tilt, and then that's not like an infinite or anything where I was chasing them, because you could tech pretty much at any time before you touch the ground. So if you are aware of what's happening, you should be able to tech it, but I mean, if you're not, then it might catch you off guard. But yeah, down tilt before that whole thing where it knocks you into tumble. So like, let's say I did an up throw here and knocking you into tumble. Down throw is actually like the only, or not down throw, but down tilt is the only way for Meta Knight to perform jab blocks, because his jab is instantly a rapid jab, and that will eliminate the jab block instantaneously, so you don't really want that to happen. But yeah, if you do get like a down tilt into some kind of a throw, then you might want to try and get another 2 down tilts into like down smash or something, because down smash actually works really well out of a jab block, but, or as I like to call it, down tilt block for Meta Knight. But as you can see there, I was able to get a bit of percent just off of that alone. And then you've got neutral air. I kind of mentioned that aerials weren't really that important on the ground, and yeah, I can still stand by that. So neutral air is just basically used for landing. So, like, if I don't really know what my opponent's going to throw out, and I'm trying to land on them, then I might throw out a neutral air. If I know what they're going to throw out, I might throw out a down air, because it does have a bit more range downward, so I might be able to catch them while they're charging up a move. And you won't have to worry about getting as close to them with, like, neutral air. But if you're not sure what they're going to do, then neutral air is like your safest option, because down air has a bit more landing lag than neutral air does. So you don't really want to get caught into a situation where you have a lot of landing lag against your opponent. But yeah, neutral air can also kind of lead to a grab. It's not like 100% way to get a grab, and also the grab will most likely go to the ledge like this. As I said earlier, it might be a bit more difficult to do ladder combos like this, but as you can see there, I was still able to do something with that. It was much more of a string, but it still works. But yeah, neutral air, kind of just useful for getting a grab, and then off stage, it has a decent amount of uses. So if I were to knock my opponent off with like a forward smash here, as you can see, your neutral air is just kind of a hitbox that you can throw out. Covers all sides of you, so as long as you're pretty much right next to your opponent and you land somewhere next to them where it can actually hit them, then you should be able just to knock them away from you. And then it also creates a really good angle for knocking people away. So if, let's say you're playing against like a Captain Falcon or a Little Mac, and you throw out a neutral air, so let me just do a fourth match here. As you can see, it launches at a angle to where if they throw out their jump, or if it's just Little Mac, then it will knock them too far away to be able to recover due to the hit stun. And then if your opponent's at a higher percent, then it works a bit better. Obviously I hit it backwards there, but you can see the launch angle that would happen from that. And then obviously it's also DI dependent. A lot of the stuff with Meta Knight is going to be DI dependent though. So you do either have to like read your opponent or just make some kind of a guess and then hope for the best. on DI. But you can't always expect your opponent to just not press anything and then fall directly into your combos, which is why I have the CPU shuffling on right now. But yeah, I guess the final move from Meta Knight, I'll cover up air, I guess, as well, but the next and final move is going to be back air. Back air has a lot of, you can see it has a lot of knockback. I couldn't think of the word for a second, but it will just be able to knock your opponent pretty far back, just for an aerial at least. Like, it's no like neutral air knockback, but really it's not that bad, considering how fast it is. So you can kind of just throw it out, and it also has 3 hits. And as long as you don't touch the ground, then the 3 hits will keep happening. So you don't just have to hit your opponent for all of the hits to go through. But as you can also see, it combos into itself pretty easily. And then even if it doesn't combo into itself, it launches at a really nice angle to be able to kind of flip into itself. Not really true or anything, but you can kind of just catch people with it if they keep jumping, rather than waiting on their recovery to launch or air dodging or something like that. But yeah, you can just use it to catch people in the air if they're jumping around. You can use it when crossing up. That's probably what I recommend doing, is to catch people while crossing up against them. And then you might be able to get like a 4 hit there or a 5 hit. If you do get a 5 hit, you'll do a bit more damage, but you don't have to do all 5 hits. You can instead do this, and you might be able to get a check chase out of it. Because on the second hit, it sends your opponent directly into the ground. So you can land a few down tilts into like a down smash. I did forward smash there. Forward smash actually doesn't work, but do down smash, which is a bit better. Forward smash has way too much lag, and then up smash doesn't hit low, or it hits like a bit too high, so your opponent won't be affected by it. But yeah, just back air. It also has a bit more range than forward air. You can see forward air is also laggier, so it does have more knockback, but it is riskier, and it also doesn't have any knockback if you do land on the ground without hitting all of the hits. So it's kind of risky to do on stage. It's much better for off stage, but even then, it's pretty easy to avoid. And then sometimes it doesn't really connect all the hits. It's pretty rare, but I have seen it happen a few times. Same thing with back air, but back air is even rarer than that. But as you can see there, you can just use it to kind of set up an edge guard like that. And then that was a mix of back air and neutral air. Oh yeah, I forgot to actually cover special, so I'll do that as well. But yeah, now into up air. So up air is going to be probably your most used move. I'm going to turn Inkling up to about 25% here. That's just because it is your main combo tool. You're just able to pretty much ladder people all the way to the corner here. Although I keep doing fair accidentally. Just because you have to do it at like up and then whatever direction you're facing angle, so if you're not careful you can put fair. But yeah, here, I actually messed that up, so. So as you can see, all I'm doing is just down throw into short hop up air, and then I just keep doing short hop up air into itself, all the way to the blast zone pretty much. Meta Knight does have 6 zones, so if you use all of the jumps, then you're able to get a bit more range. But once you do reach the blast zone, all you have to do is just input neutral B. And it should be true there, I kind of delayed one hit, just to make sure that I did connect it, but if you don't delay any hits, then it will be a true combo. And then neutral B has a lot of knockback, even at lower percent, so it should just be able to knock opponents into the blast zone. As you can see there, that was at 25%, it had that much knockback, so you don't even have to hit all of the hits that you can do with up air to be able to kill people with neutral B, but it does help a lot. But as you can see there, the main problem with neutral B, or I guess I'll finish with up air. So up air has a really weird hitbox where you can't hit people on the ground. a lot. I mean, it does work sometimes, but it's really rare, so I wouldn't go for landing up air too much. You can just do like up tilt into up air if you want to do that, but landing up air is not a very consistent thing, so I wouldn't rely on it too much. But up air itself is just mainly used for combos. If you do land on the backside of Meta Knight with the up air, so here, let me just do up smash actually. So, if my opponent is on the opposite side that I'm facing, they will actually be behind me. I can't really show it here. This England keeps going in front of me. But yeah, it's pretty much just dependent on which side of the sword you hit. So as you can see there, that was me hitting it backwards. It actually sent England in the opposite direction I'm facing. So make sure that you do know what side of the sword that you are, or that your opponent's landing on. So that way you can either continue the combo, or if they break out, then maybe hit them with a back air as they're landing or something like that. But yeah, now in the specials. So specials are going to be either used for recovery, they can be used for tech chases, killing, or they can just kind of be used to move around on the stage. So neutral B is going to be Tornado. It actually has a pretty far distance that it can travel. If you hit your opponent on the startup of the move, it will do a lot more damage than if you hit them on the end of the move, or even like the middle of the move as well. So, if you actually space away from the move, what I mean by that. So, it does have a wood box that does pull people in, so it's kind of difficult to hit them on something that's not startup if you're like right next to them. But the wind box isn't as strong as something like the Luigi Cyclone. It doesn't really have that much range. So as you can see, you can just push people to the other side of you sometimes. But if you do mash neutral B, you will actually fly. And I tried doing this with 2 buttons on neutral B to see how high you would fly, but it just ended up like canceling the inputs. But the faster that you mash neutral B, the higher that you will fly. So that can allow you to recover. It will put you into special fall though, and it also does not snap the ledge, as you can see there. But it should allow you to recover if you can mash pretty quickly. I'm not really mashing too fast, but I'm still able to recover pretty easily. Although if I get a bit too low, then I might not be able to. If you do bounce off the ledge, then you will die though while doing this recovery. So it is kind of risky, but the main way that you're going to, or not the main way, but like pretty much the only time that you're going to be using Tornado to recover, outside of like mixing up your recovery, because all 4 of your specials help you recover, so I would recommend to mix them up. But outside of that, the only time that you're really going to use Tornado off stage is whenever you're doing the ladder combo and are ending it with neutral B. So if I do something like this, and then I get backstage, and I like barely make it to ledge because I'm not really mashing, so I'm not getting that much height. I'm just traveling horizontally back to stage pretty much, because it doesn't actually make you fall that far, not far that fall. But yeah, and then you've got down special. So down special does a decent amount of damage if you land it. You pretty much have to land directly inside of your opponent to be able to land it, as it does have a pretty tight hitbox, you can see there. Or just like land behind them and hit them with the sword, but either way you do have to land really close to your opponent. If your opponent does read where you are going, then it's not going to be that well for you, because it does have a bit of ending lag. You also get a bit of invincibility whenever you return, but the invincibility will end before the not landing lag, but like ending lag of the move, so then that's the window that you have to punish Meta Knight. But yeah, you can do this in the air and everything. It will snap to ledge as well, so you can just use it to recover back to stage. Although if you do miss the ledge slightly like that, then you won't make it back to the ledge, obviously. But you can just use this to mix up your recovery. Like, you can use it to recover high. Your opponent can't really see where you're going, they kind of just have to guess. Although there is a bit of a flash, as you can see there, as soon as Meta Knight spawns in, so that can give your opponent somewhat of an idea of where you're going to travel. Meta Knight does slide a bit outside of it, though, so they might, like, stand directly where the flash is, and then might not be able to hit you if they don't have enough range. With Slide Special, this is probably, like, one of your worst recovery moves. It's fairly easy to, like, counter, and then if it gets countered, that knocks Meta Knight off stage, and then if you're playing against someone with a counter, then a lot of your options, except for, like, down special, are going to be able to be exploited. so you might want to use that instead. But slide special, it also has a lot of ending lag. Like if you do it on the ground like that, you'll bounce up as well. So then you can't really travel as far. It will put you into special fall. I did forget to mention that every single, or not every single, I did mention that, but down special will put you into special fall. I'd already mentioned that. All your specials will put you into special fall, so that's why I didn't really say it. But slide special as well, and then solo special, just to get that out of the way. But yeah, so slide special, not that useful in the air. Like if you do it in the air, then your opponent can actually fall out of it very easy. Or very easily. If you do it upwards like that, it works a lot better, but if I were to do something like this, you can see that England was able to escape it and then drop out. That's because the launching limit's not based off of where you're facing necessarily. Like, that kind of plays into it, but it doesn't really have that much hits done, I guess, is the problem with that. But, as you can see, it kind of just launches them away from you, rather than in the direction you're facing. Like, if you are facing downwards, it might launch them a bit more at a downward angle, but they can still escape it if they have a really good recovery like England does. As you can see, she's able to pretty much escape the edge guarding for free. But the good thing about slide special is that if you aren't sure if your opponent's going to tech roll in whatever direction, you can throw out a slide special, and that will cover tech roll in, neutral tech roll, and then if they tech roll, or not neutral tech roll, but neutral tech, and then if they tech away from you as well. Which that's basically done by, whenever you're in tumble, you just hit the shield button, and then you'll do a tech, and then if you hold a direction, then you'll roll in that direction. So if they roll towards you, you can slide special, or if they roll away from you, then you can slide special, and then if they don't do anything with the tech, you can slide special. But if they do have this animation where they just lay on the ground, then you do want to go for down tilts rather than slide special, because that could potentially get you more damage and possibly a kill if your opponent's at around like 90%, then you get them down smash. And then you have up special. So up special is probably like the most popular way to kill people off the sides, but it really works on the top a lot better. So if you do get a ladder that travels a bit more vertically, rather than horizontally, so most of the time if you use dash attack rather than down throw to start ladders, this will work out a lot better, but it really only works if your opponent's at a decently high percent after the ladder. But you can end it with shuttle loop and be able to pick up the kill off the top. Shuttle loop itself is really good, like out of shield, because it does a decent amount of damage, although it can drop opponents, so if they do drop out of the first hit, then they will be able to punish you while you're returning back to stage. They don't really fall that fast in special fall. Although, if your opponent just falls normally, then you should be able to get back to stage before them. But if they do fast fall, then they will probably be able to beat you and then get a punish off of that. But yeah, I've seen a few people go for stuff like, it wasn't up throw, but like down throw. Up special, this is okay unless you like do it at the ledge. You might not want to do that just in case you go a bit too far and then don't make it back to stage. But it is true, so I mean, it's a decent way to pick up damage, but it's much better to go for something like down throw into another ladder. I didn't mean to do slide special there, but it did pretty much the same thing, and that would actually kill England first, so it still works. But yeah, your up special shuttle loop can be used for that. It can just be used for edge guarding in general. You can just face away from the ledge and then grab it like this. So one trick that I actually saw pretty recently was that you can up special down here if you B reverse it. Oh, not like that, but if you B reverse the up special down here, then you grab the ledge like this and you hit your opponent on your way to the ledge, so that will knock them away from the ledge, and then you can drop into a back air like this, and that's a true combo that could potentially lead to a kill through edge guarding, or if they're at a high enough percent, then just through knockback from that. But yeah, that's just something that I thought was kind of interesting that you could do with shuttle loop. So yeah, I guess now into new neutral for Meta Knight, so you mainly want to stay on the ground. You can't bounce in the air like this because you do fall pretty quickly, just to kind of see where your opponent's throwing out. If you do jump around a lot, then maybe use your jumps. Although, don't use them all. You can kind of tell whenever you've run out of jumps. If you're not good at seeing the smoke, then whenever Meta Knight's out of jumps, his wings go a bit, like, straight above his head, and then if he's not out of jumps and he falls, it kind of creates more of a V shape. But if he is out of jumps, then you can see it's much more like a line directly above his head. So that's just something that I use to kind of keep track of how many jumps he has if I can't really spot the smoke. But you can also just count the jumps pretty easily as well. If you can't really focus on counting because you're trying to outplay your opponent and things like that, then that's just a really easy way to identify it on the screen. But there is also smoke that you can kind of see on Meta Knight. It might be a bit hard to see if there's a lot of stuff going on in the background, like the halberd flying, but it's easier to recognize on certain characters, and then for other characters it's a bit more difficult. But yeah, you might want to jump around a bit. If you do jump around, I would recommend to throw out an air, like right before you touch the ground, just to make sure if anyone's trying to approach you, then you do knock them away from you, because it will make them travel pretty far, but not far enough to knock them off stage or anything, unless they're at a decent percent, but far enough to where you don't really have to worry about them for a second, and might be able to get positional advantage on them, and then potentially get a down tilt if they miss attack. And then maybe like run up and poke with down tilt. If your opponent's playing much more in their shield, then go for down tilt, but if your opponent's trying to hit you more than you're trying to hit them, then go for dash tag. So I guess it's kind of defensive versus aggressive. If your opponent's playing defensive, then go for down tilt, because that will give you enough range to be able to outrange him, depending on the character. Like if it's Lucina, then you will be able to outrange her. But if it's like Incan, for example, then you should be able to outrange them with a down tilt and then potentially lead into a grab, and then a ladder off of that. But if you go for a dash attack because your opponent's playing a bit more aggressively, then you could also get some sort of a combo going off of the dash attack if you space it out. And then potentially an edge guard. Basically, what you want to try to do as Meta Knight is just knock your opponent off stage as soon as possible. Not really get them to a high percent, because you don't really have to worry about their percent, depending on the character. If it's a heavier character, you might want to get them to a decent percent, but most midweights, if you just ladder combo them off the side, then you should be able to get a kill with like neutral B or something like that. Although, we can mess this up. I was able to do this off stream a bit better, but as you can see, I bounced off the ledge there. But you might want to go for things like that little dash tag into or neutral air into dash tag, just to knock them off stage and then go for an edge guard. Because Meta Knight kind of struggles to kill. I won't say that it's as bad as a lot of other characters, but sometimes it can be pretty difficult. Meta Knight has really limited range due to his sword, and a lot of his kill moves are pretty slow, like forward smash is kind of slow, up smash doesn't really kill that quickly, because it doesn't really have that much knockback. And then a lot of his specials are pretty slow, and then they're kind of laggy as well, so you might not want to use them that much, but if you do go for edge guards, that works out a lot better. And all of your best edge guarding tools pretty much bring you back to stage. Like, back air is pretty much the only one that I would say doesn't. Like, you can use slide special or up special to bring you back to stage. Meta Knight can also go underneath the stage. Although I might have just messed... No, I didn't mess it up, okay. So you can actually go underneath the stage like this, if you get corner pressured. And then you might even be able to edge guard someone underneath the stage and still make it back, because Meta Knight's recovery is very good compared to a lot of other characters, so. Just because you have the multiple jumps and your up special travels pretty far. Can even grab the ledge, if you do like that, if you up special a bit closer to the bottom, but not to the point where you get stuck underneath the stage like that. But, like about where those engine things are, is where you want to up special to be able to grab the ledge, and then I was also able to not grab the ledge on the first hit. That is pretty good if your opponent is sitting at the ledge trying to just wait on you to get up here. you can kind of just poke them from the ledge and then get them off of it. It will send them upwards like that, but it's still going to be enough for you to maybe get like a whirlwind or just do like a neutral get up and catch them off guard as well and make them consider doing different things at the ledge to try to ledge trap. But yeah, Meta Knight, definitely want to go for edge guards. If you do have to play against an opponent, or if you are playing against an opponent that is just avoiding a lot of your edge guards, then I mean, you can just go for ladder combos. Ladder combos are pretty risky because they don't really work most of the time because they are heavily DI dependent. A lot of people thought whenever the game first came out that Meta Knight was going to be broken due to ladder combos and things like that. But once it was revealed that they're actually really based on DI, so if your opponent's DIing out or DIing in, that could change the effect of the combo entirely. Or you could just miss it. But yeah, if you are kind of struggling with that, you can do that. You can also go for like up B, just randomly on stage that might be able to pick up a kill. Because it does kill pretty quickly. And it's not too laggy or anything. The only laggy part is returning the stage if you do miss it. But as you can see there, that was at 100%, so it should be able to kill like 110, 120-ish. So you can just like run up and then up B. And then if you do it a bit spaced out, then it might not work. But as you can see here, it's just able to pick up a kill pretty easily. And you can also perform this out of shield, just by hitting up B while holding down shield. Like that. So that can be another way to pick up a kill if you're getting shield pressured. But yeah, for out of shield options, you have up B, and then I would also recommend neutral because it's pretty quick. Grab is an okay one. I mean, I wouldn't really go for it too much because you mostly want to go for dash grab if you are going to go for grabs because that will knock your opponent slightly forward. Not to the point where they're at the ledge if you're about where Inkling is at doing the dash grab, so like you won't knock her directly to ledge, but it will make getting her off stage a bit easier. And then you might also want to mix up what you use to, or what throw you use, rather than just down throw. If this is at a lower percent, then I'd recommend not to go for down throw because down throw will get stale, but you can also just do it to do things like this, and then just catch your opponent off guard. Because most people are going to expect you to go for down throw. Maybe even like back throw or up throw. The good thing about up throw is that it will also allow you to go through platforms, so if you're on a battlefield stage, and you're about here, which is about at the edge of the battlefield platform on top, and then you up throw your opponent, then you can stay on the top platform while they either try to go towards you from the knockback, or they just go to a different part of the stage, and then you have a bit of an advantage above them, so you can maybe platform camp them. Although that doesn't really work for that well for Meta Knight, it can just give you a bit of an advantage there. And then you can also do up throws on certain stages like that, and it will be able to kill a bit faster. But yeah, I guess now for disadvantage with Meta Knight, or just kind of general disadvantages with Meta Knight. Obviously the range with your sword being as small as it is, you don't really have that much range. Down tilt only jab blocks until about like 120%, as I kind of found out earlier. So, you can't really use that to consistently pick up kills at later percents because it will eventually just knock people into tumble out of the missed tech, so then you can't really land a down smash or anything. And then, you can kind of struggle to kill at like normal kill percent for most characters, so like about 100% I would say is a pretty good normal kill percent for a lot of characters. Some characters can kill a bit faster, some kill a bit slower, but most characters kind of average around like 100 to 110%, whereas with Meta Knight, like up B kills at 120, so you mostly just have to get your kills through edge guarding and things like that. But yeah, I guess to show just a game here, I'll just do CPU since I am live. I don't really want to wait for people to show up into an arena or do like quick play or anything like that. Just do this because it's a bit faster, so I'm gonna go for a grab here. Try to do it up tilt. Tried to get them with these first hit up B there, while they were off stage. But yeah, tried to throw out a fourth matcher as well, but Roller was able to outrange me. And as I said earlier, that's something that Meta Knight can struggle with, is range, so you do have to watch out for that. But yeah, this Inkling isn't fulfilling ink for some reason, I guess. No, she's not going to do it there either. But yeah, that was a very unsafe option, but it ended up working out pretty well. Gonna recover a bit early. Oh, okay, I'm gonna lose a stock there, but that's just one. I will be playing this until 3 stocks, so just keeping track of that. Yeah, I can pick up a kill here with the out of shield. Figured that Inkling wouldn't let go of Roller there. I'm gonna go for a jab there, just a quick option. Gonna get a few aerials as well. Go for a neutral B here. Had really slow match in there for some reason. Really unsafe there. I'm surprised I didn't get punished that badly, but yeah, gonna get juggled a bit here. Gonna mix up landing with down special. Yeah, this opponent's playing a bit more aggressively, so I'm going to start going for dash attacks, I think. Although, it's been too high of a percent for that, so... Now they're playing slightly more defensive. Oh, missed that tech, but it's fine. They kind of just keep going for the same option, but... starting to see that now. Yeah, gonna go for an up smash there. We're gonna air dodge, so just gonna keep baiting out air dodges, I guess, because they do seem to continuously be air dodging. But yeah, that's going to be the game there. Went for a forward smash because it worked out, but let me just read this real fast. Yeah, down tilt to down smash. If it does tumble, then it should work, but it really is kind of weird because I mean, I guess at mid-percent here, let me try it. So, go to like 50%. So, are you saying like down tilt with the trip or down tilt without the trip? Because they're actually not a bit too far away for that. Maybe a bit earlier. Yeah, I guess in Elite it might work a bit better, but just in general it's not gonna work that. Oh, it works with both? With and without, okay. But yeah, they seem to be knocked a bit too far away for that to work in a regular match, because your opponent would be able to react and tech to that. What I'd recommend to do is go for like the second hit of back air instead, because that's a bit harder to react to, and it also creates a tumble at pretty much any percent, just because of the way that it knocks back on the second hit. But yeah, for some reason they were keeping some of that, but you just have to start it a bit higher above your opponent's head. so it's kind of hard to do. And then that time I ran past him. But I did it earlier and it works fine. It works at pretty much any percent as well, so me resetting doesn't really do anything, but kind of help with the position. But yeah, as you can see there, it just knocks him down, and then you can follow up with 2 down tilts into like a down smash, and then do a chain like that. That might work out a bit better. But yeah, I would say that's probably it for the guide. I usually end with those types of things and testing that. So I guess for taunts, for thumbnail, like I normally do. So got up taunt, and then I guess side taunt has to be done this way, and then down taunt has to be done the other way to make you turn around, I guess. But yeah, that's going to be it for now. I might be live later and do fewer battles or something like that, maybe with Meta Knight, but for now I'm just going to end this stream here, as I've been streaming for a bit. And then if I do stream later, I'll do that. But I guess I will see everyone in the next stream, either way.